Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lead Change Empowerment Podcast, where we empower you in your now and lead the change you want to see in yourself and others. Without further ado, here to serve you, your host, Mr. Steve Robinson.
Welcome to the Lead Change Empowerment Podcast. I am your host, Steve Robinson, and Happy New Year to you all. This is the first show of the new year. Hey, we're still working on everything for the new format that we'll be rolling out in about 2 weeks. We're about 15 days out. Everything is kind of going as planned, going a little bit better. We have a couple guests already set up. We're still working on to see if we're going to have a co-host on a regular basis or just sometimes. So we're still working to iron that out, but the shows, have about 4 or 5 shows that'll be ready to drop that first week to get us back in the groove of things, especially with this new format. It's been a lot of work going on towards that, especially with other stuff that I have going on at this current time. I am the assistant coach of the rugby team. I'm working on rugby. Hadn't played rugby, but know how to coach different sports, know how to coach, period, as far as structure, know how to coach structure, know how to coach discipline, and know how to coach character, help build character. So basically it just as an attitude adjuster and influencer to help the young people going forward. So I will keep you updated on the rugby. If you're familiar with the rugby, definitely let me know about that. Respond. Continue to follow us, like us, subscribe on iTunes, subscribe and like on Spreaker as well. We're still on YouTube, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, and that means a lot that you all give feedback and you'll have some things to say to help me. And also, I will be addressing the different topics that you send out for me. If you send me something that you want me to talk about, I'll be more than happy to bring it up or find an expert to help us discuss that. And we will release the anxiety and depression that sometimes we're facing. And speaking about it for today's topic is how to identify anxiety and depression in our young people. And seeing that I work in the school systems, and I work with, and a lot of, when I say young people, I'm dealing with the 13 to 18-year-olds. I've worked with those that are a little bit younger, but right now, that's where I'm really at, is the 13 to 18-year-olds and dealing with anxiety and depression. And anxiety and depression to someone who is not familiar will look like, oh, the kid is just going through typical teenage growing pains. Oh, it's just typical, what a teenager goes through. And it's very not the case. It's very not much so not the case. Anxiety and depression are treatable, but 80% of young people with diagnosable anxiety disorder and 60% of kids with depression don't get treatment. And that's according to a 2015 Child Mind Institute study that was done. And that's very, very, very important. And seeing how a lot of times it's like, well, the kid is just acting out, or they're just kind of withdrawing themselves, and that's not the case. We're just not identifying the anxiety that the young person is going through. Now, anxiety is normal. It's a normal part of childhood, but it goes through, all youth go through the phase, but that's a phase is something that's just temporary. Young people who suffer from anxiety disorder experience fear, nervousness, shyness. They avoid going places. They avoid the activities. So you have young people that may have been super excited about playing sports at a younger age is now kind of withdrawn from it, don't want to go to social events such as like the basketball games, school dances, things of that nature, maybe to the mall. And those are signs of anxiety that are building up. And the anxiety, here's a study that shows this. Anxiety affects 1 in 8 young people. 1 in 8. And research shows that untreatable children or young people with anxiety are at a higher risk to perform poorly in school. They miss important social experiences, like I said, with basketball games, things of that nature. And they're more likely, let me correct that, they are more likely to engage in substance abuse. Now, I had read one study online that was talking about here are two questions that every parent should ask themselves when it comes to their young people and about anxiety and depression. Is my young person or young chap or young child or whatever you want to call them, is my young person more shy or anxious than other young people his or her age? That's one question. Is my child more worried than other children his or her age? And if you answer yes to either one of those questions I just asked, then there's a high probability your child will develop anxiety disorder. Now, parents, guardians, caregivers, these are, I mean, a lot of times the young people that I work with, I mean, we are all they have. Whether it be the parent, whether it be the caregiver, the teacher, the coach, we are the ones who have to help them identify this. They know something is not kind of feeling right. They know something is not going right. And of course, when and it's not, and that's a big if they even mention it to you, it's a lot of, oh, you're just going through a typical growth. You're just going through those stages. And because we don't know the diagnosis or we can't identify it, we just say, oh, that's just part of growing up. And it's so much not. Like I said, a phase is temporary. A phase is just going to go and then go away. That becomes longevity when that type of, those same type of reactions or actions that they're taking continues to go. You know, teenagers face young people, a host of pressures from the puberty to, you know, the acceptance of their peers and being around their peers. And a lot of times what I find out with working with young people is that a lot of the stuff they're doing is trying to maybe fit in to the people that they're around. And there's a lot of turmoil and uncertainty, and you don't even feel like really being this way. It just is like that's the way to be. And it isn't always easy to differentiate between depression and normal teenager growing or normal young people growing. But teen depression goes way beyond moodiness. You're just having moods. No, it's a very serious health problem, and it will impact every single aspect of their life. Now, the fortunate thing is it's very treatable. And we as parents, as caregivers, as coaches, as the adults in these young people's lives, we can support that. That support can go a long way. And some of the things that we can do, you know, is watch for the red flags. Watch for some of the red flags. Irritability, very irritable, anger, the focus on listening and not lecturing. That's what parents need to do more. We do a lot of lecturing and not enough listening. We always have something to say, but we always don't have a lot to hear. Encourage your young people to spend time with their friends. Now, of course, you want to see what type of friends they have. You want to be able to, at least, you know, for the most part, see that. But make sure he or she is getting plenty of sleep. Make sure they're getting exercise, and learn more. Like read about it. You know, as caregivers, and I want to say caregivers to cover the whole spectrum of whether it be parents, coaches, because we care. So we're caring. Read articles about it. Find out. And sometimes, and here's a big thing, because the adult has not identified the anxiety and depression within themselves, you don't know what to look for in the young people that we're working with. So adults, now the difference is, you know, the adults have the ability to get the assistance on their own. And then that's, you know, you can go to the doctor, you can go do that. A lot of times with young people, you know, they don't recognize it, and their caregivers don't recognize it. So no one can get them the help, and they continue to suffer, and it continues to grow. And we continue to, you know, call out what it's not, saying that it's just part of growing. So if you have a young person in your life, it's very important to learn what depression looks like and what to do if you see the warning signs. And, you know, sometimes it may not, recognizing depression is kind of, well, I can't say it's easy. There are obvious signs to look for. We're dealing with young people. There's a lot of stuff where, like I said, just the acting out part, the agitation, just going from 0 to 100 real quick. The sadness, hopelessness, loss of, like I said, the interest, don't want to go to different activities, school performance has gotten low, and check for fatigue and lack of energy. It just can't be you're just on the phone all night. Like, there's some unexplained things that are going on that we're just, because we don't know and because it hasn't been brought to our attention, we're just overlooking it or just putting it off as there's another growing pain. And when you get a certain amount of moodiness and acting out, persistent changes in the personality and the behavior, those are red flags. That's a deeper problem. That young person has a deeper problem than what we're actually listening to or paying attention to. And we have to be careful for those things. Don't ignore the problem. I want to tell you, don't ignore the problem. Do not ignore the problem. The same way that I just keep saying it again, do not ignore the problem. Depression can be very damaging when it's left untreated. So don't wait and hope that the symptoms will go away, because they're not. They're going to get worse. And then once the child does not know how to identify these things or get help from them, that becomes more so problems for them. And you got to be able to just bring up the concerns in a loving, non-judgmental way when you're talking to your young people about this. Have an open dialogue. Like, that's something that we need as caregivers. I think it's very important that we have an open dialogue with our young people, because we have to hold them accountable as well as holding ourselves accountable. And that happens a lot in the school system. I see what working with young people. It's just, parents, we got to hold them accountable. We're so quick to hold teachers accountable and hold the systems accountable for what they're not doing. But the parents, we're not holding ourselves accountable for the things that we need to do. We need to be able to have an open discussion with our teen, our young person, to even find out what's going on. You got to ask the child to share some of the things that they're going through. And listen, it's not, you're not going to have an answer for everything, and that's a lot of times a young person just starts to talk to us about something that they're going through, and automatically, that's just because of this. Oh, no, that's just because this. You got to stop doing that. You can't be around the people that's doing it. Man, that is easy to say that. That sounds great, and it sounds like that's the plan. But you got to understand, and I tell people all the time, a child spends more time in the school than they spend at home. I mean, you look at it, and I can just say for my son and myself, like, most of the time these kids got to get up between 6:30, sometimes earlier. By the time they leave the house, walk out of your house, 6:30, 7 o'clock, they're not coming back in to almost 4 or 5, depending on if they got a good bus getting them home. They're not coming home to 4 or 5. So you have to understand that they have spent a majority of their 24 hours with other people, with other children, with other peers their age. So that influence from them is a lot deeper than just, you got to make the decision not to do this. You got to make the decision not to do that. So work on communicating with your young people first, and focus, like I said, on listening, not lecturing. Be gentle but persistent. Now, don't give up if they decide to shut you out. The first time, and here's the thing about it, the first time you decide to talk to the young people that's in your life or that you work with, just because they shut down the first time, you got to realize this is new to them as well. Talking about depression can be very tough for young people. Even if they want to, they may have a hard time of expressing because they don't know. And we got to understand, a lot of times as adults, we still don't express ourselves the way that we could. So understand that that's the same way. Acknowledging their feelings, acknowledging the feeling that, that things are going on. Don't try to talk them out of depression, or, you got to be, and I do empowerment speaking. I'm an empowerment speaker, so I talk about mindset change. But you just can't think you're going to go in and just say, okay, you got to do this, you got to change this up, and that everything's going to be right. It doesn't work that way, you have to work on it. It's something you got to work on. And sometimes with young people, their feelings or concerns may appear irrational to us, it may seem like that's silly that they even think like that. But hey, they're trying to explain what it is that we don't get. And don't try to, things aren't that bad. No, let's not try to downplay what they're going through. We'll just come across as, we'll basically come across as we're not taking it serious. And it'll make them feel unsupported and even more understood, which is even more, when you don't know how to express yourself, you're doing whatever feels comfortable at the time. So if that means acting out, if that means leading into substance abuse, if that means running with the wrong crowd, at the time that feels good because you don't know, it feels like that's taken away from what you're going through at that time. So be able to acknowledge their young people's feeling. Now, depressed teenagers tend to withdraw from their friends and activities they used to enjoy, and the isolation only makes depression worse. Sometimes, you say, yeah, being by yourself, you have to be by yourself sometimes, but sometimes that could be worse because what you're doing is you're spending more time thinking about everything that's not working out, everything that's not going right. So we have to encourage, if you have a young person that is being, totally isolating themselves, try to get them involved. Suggest activities, whether it be sports, after school clubs, music, dance, whatever it is, and take advantage of the teen's interests. Find out, a lot of people don't know what their young person like. Find out what the young person likes. Find out the things that they want to do. And here's a big thing. Work on, with building self-esteem, promote volunteering. That's it. Promote volunteering. Get your young person involved with volunteering, whether it be, at a food bank, whether it be at a men's or women's shelter, whether it be just picking up, trash or Habitat for Humanity. I took my son to help work on a house last summer, which was really good. So work on promoting volunteerism from your young people. That's good. Get them moving. Physical activity. That we all can get moving. Heck, we can actually get moving with them. Work out with them. Make sure that they're getting enough rest, and make sure to seek professional help. Get help, people, caregivers, adults. Get professional help. Stop believing, well, if I go get, and this is some of the stuff you get, like, well, my child not crazy. Okay. All right. Your definition of crazy. All right. Whatever. My child's not crazy. No, the child needs help. You may need to help them. We get so into thinking that there's so many problems if we seek out professional help. Get professional help sometimes to help them understand. Well, it helps you identify what you're up against and what you have to work with. And that's big. So with those things, please make sure that you are checking out the options of putting in the time, get them involved with different things. Make sure that you're listening and not just doing a lot of lecturing. Acknowledge that they do have those feelings, and we can make sure that we help our youth to become better, productive citizens in our community. And if you ever need a speaker to come talk to your organization about help changing mindsets, with parents, with helping building self-esteem, be sure to reach out to me. You can reach me at info@SteveRobinsonTheSpeaker.com. That's info@SteveRobinsonTheSpeaker.com. Of course, you can find all my social media, @SteveRobinson_the_speaker on Instagram and Facebook as well. So, with that said, I have to go, and I'm going to leave you the same way. Prayer, patience, progress, in that order. We're looking forward to the new rollout. See you later.